All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sober Sunday, Stimulating Conversations with me, Simon Bevy, but today with Sophia Mwende, who is my good and beloved wife for the last 23 years, right?
4 now.
Oh, 4. It's getting to 24. The last I left it was 23. But very good to be here today to have this conversation. I know many of you have been looking forward to it. We want to invite you. We want to ask you to invite your friends as well. Please host a watch party and let your friends know that we are live. We have begun. This is going to be a very good conversation. The last few weeks, we've been talking about relationships. And today we talk about spicing it up. Tips for starting and keeping a great relationship. And we have, I should say, some experts here, those who have been there, done that, struggled with that. And then we have our father in the faith, who is a great expert on marriage. He has written several books. In fact, a few weeks ago, he was teaching about spicing it up in church. And so we're so glad to have this conversation. So let me start by introducing the bishop, John Masinder, JB Masinder. We are so glad to have you. It's always very good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just say something. He's a bishop with the Deliverance Church. He has a base in Umoja, Deliverance Church, but a father to many, a mentor to many of us. Is our Sophie and I, we consider him as our bishop. He has mentored us a lot and spoken into our lives. So, Bishop, you may say hi. I know some people might be looking around to see whether your wife is near, but I know it's been a long
They
day.
know she even if she's not here, she's near. When you've been married for 45 years and they've got children,
Wow.
the age of my children, there's no place where your wife is going.
Yeah.
Wow.
45 years. Congratulations.
Yeah. And even as we thank you very much for having me on this conversation. We thank God for each one of you. Marriage is very close to our hearts, me and Mama Joy. And even this evening, we're having just marriage pride in Umoja. We are reviving it. We'll be having it every month, but on Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
And if you can call that number, Simon, and they were praying, they can see if they can put the link.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell your guy to call that number. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Bishop. We'll do that just now. Really glad to have Ross and David. For sure, they have not been married for 45 years, but they've probably been alive for those years, or just a little more. But we're glad to have you here. Feel free to introduce yourselves and just say what you do and how long you've been married before we get down into the conversations.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We'll introduce my wife and then she'll introduce me.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yes.
It's how you spice it up, right?
This is Rose Kasiva Ewagata, my wife for 21 years coming next month. So we are coming close. We've been alive for just after 45 years. So tuko tu hapo bumper na bumper with marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Pastor David Ewagata. He's born again. Most important. He loves the Lord.
Yeah, that's crucial to know.
That's good. Yeah, if you watch some of the things he posts, you won't get that reassurance.
Yes, as a close witness, he is truly born again. He loves the Lord. Serves at Papa Center Church, Mombasa Road, and he's a passionate youth worker. He has served in youth ministry for as long as I remember him, knowing him, which is over 20 years.
So this is the wife of my youth ministry.
Yeah, you found her in the as you ministered. Well, maybe Bishop, we can start it off. We are glad to have you guys. I think this is a very good conversation. And I'll start off with you, Bishop, just asking a question. You have wedded so many people, and you see when it they come to the altar. Before then, of course, you do counseling for them. They're so excited they can't let their hands go. They're just holding their hands. They're dreaming of a wonderful, sizzling marriage, and they come to the altar. You marry them, you wed them, and they begin their lives. And they are very involved in church. They're very excited. You can see the love every Sunday. And then after a while, things begin to happen. Why do couples lose a spark? Because we're talking about spicing it up, but always there's a spark, before, when couples are beginning. With your experience with relationships, why do you think we lose a spark?
Wow. Is there an easier question? Yeah.
They began with the easy ones.
Because then as the exam, I learned to answer the easy questions first before I move on the hard ones. That would take a long time.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, the first wedding I did was 1978. That's the first wedding I performed. I was assigned by my Bishop, William Timothy. The people's wedding we did are now grandparents. So you are right. We've done many, many weddings. It's only that now, on this latter part of my ministry, I do not more than 6 or 7 weddings a year. And most will find maybe they are pastors' kids. But I've got quite a number of pastors now who handle that and who also do the counseling and that and so forth. Even today we launched marriage, the counseling program for this year. This was launched today by one of our pastors. Nevertheless, I will tell you that I would not do a wedding of people who have not gone through counseling. That's mandatory. Very, very important. But just like what you have said, Simon, the fact that people have gone through a counseling program, it does not mean that they'll not face challenges. This evening, when we were talking about Marriage Pride, we were looking at the question in the book of Acts chapter 9, verse 49. Acts chapter 7, verse 49, where God tells, Stephen is preaching, quotes God by saying, if heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool, what kind of house will you build for me? And where shall I find rest? And when you talk about building houses, you cannot miss to quote Christ in the book of Matthew chapter 7 from verse 25, that those who hear these words of mine, they'll be compared to a person who built their houses on a rock. And he mentions 3 things. He says the rain fell, and the floods rose up, and the wind blew. There's a house that stood, there's a house that fell. Yeah. Every house we are building will face those 3 things. Will face either the rain falling on it, floods rising in it, or winds blowing. And the question I was talking to people tonight was, can your house stand the rain? Can it stand the floods? Can it stand the winds? Yeah. What many people, when they get into marriage, they get in with false expectation. That's a major thing that makes things unravel. Yes. It is ruptured expectations, unmet expectations, expectations that were out of this world, expectations that we are putting on somebody that they cannot, in all their human abilities, they are not wired to deliver, and they cannot deliver. And therefore you start getting disappointed. And when you sit in counseling sessions, you hear someone telling you, I expected, I thought, I imagined. Then suddenly what they expected, what they thought, what they imagined, they see it's not happening.
Mhm.
That issue of unmet expectations, raptured expectations, is a major cause of just losing the spark and the spice in marriage.
Yeah.
And many times it's because we come with expectations that our spouses are not wired to deliver, for God's sake.
Mm. Mm. I love what you've said, and I think there are two main things there that you have said about, false expectations. We just think of certain things, we have dreams, and I know shortly Rose is going to be telling us some of those false expectations she had or unmet expectations. But we come into it thinking it's going to be the way the movies are, and later we realize things got grounds, they got different. It's not the same as what we see, and
You're
then
right.
we get frustrated. So unmet expectations. But you also talked about foundation. If a foundation is not right, if we start wrong, if we are not founded on the rock, then the winds are going to blow this thing off. Let me ask David, and then Sophie will talk with Ross. David, as a man, what is one expectation you had about marriage and about this woman that eventually you realize was just, it belongs to the stars, not to real life?
What are you doing? You want to start a fight?
Why don't you ask me easy questions like the one you've asked Bishop? A general question that has no personal implication. It's interesting that you raise that, because this question was asked to us a couple of weeks ago again. What are those things that you expected? And I think one is this expectation that seasons and times do not affect us. You think, you know what? It's all gonna be honeymoon after honeymoon after honeymoon after honeymoon. It's gonna be flowers and roses, no PMS, no headaches, no struggles with the daily rigors of life, where you have not paid bills, or your kids are not feeling well or are not doing well. So we have this assumption that it's just gonna be perfect. Everything is gonna be ideal. She's gonna be ready for me when I come in. She's gonna be happy when I come in. She's gonna have everything in place. And then you realize she's a person. She gets tired. She gets stressed. Which is what, as you're saying, the movies don't give us that side of things. They always just show this wonderful couple that comes in and they hug at the door and she picks his bag and they walk into the house and it's a happy evening every day. And then you realize, we are human beings, and headaches happen, and fatigue happens, and stresses of life have a way of coming into the family and affecting that. And it can be a point of frustration, because if you've not seen that model, especially by what we consider our iconic models, the media, the movies, the magazines, social media, because we're always feeling blessed when we're in Tunisia, riding the dunes, or in Dubai, but we don't see the reality of the challenges. So you begin to feel, maybe I was shortchanged in one area or another, just because you've not perceived it as this is part and parcel of what marriage is about.
I hear you. Just wanting and expecting everything to be doing okay.
That's very interesting. Actually, it's true that you get married as two single people, and then the work begins. First of all, adjusting to each other, and adjusting to life together, adjusting to children and all that come with it. I think nobody tells us those things, and so you.
No, we are not listening when we are told. We are not listening.
So you end up getting what they call buyer's remorse. Yeah. At some point you're like, oh my goodness. Anyway, so Rose, what about you? What are some of your girlhood dreams that anyway you just accepted kuna vile?
Higher.
Do you have any of those?
I think as any other lady, we are wowed and we are wooed by this great gentleman. with a lot of promise, with a lot of mysteries. You know, those ones of I will do anything. I will take a bullet for you. I will, you know. And we enter into this space with a very on a very high note of in terms of expectations. He'll be my knight in shining armor. He will be able to read my mind. He will love me unconditionally. He will, you know, he'll be able to tell where I'm at and what I need. And I think I think we are set up by society, by culture, by the narratives, by the movies, by the media to sort of be in that fairy tale space when we are entering into marriage. And they, you know, and they lived happily ever after. And the sunset, they walked into the sunset holding hands. That's the kind of setup we get into, and it shapes our expectation. So for me, I know for one, I expected that David would be able to read my mind almost, be able to tell when I'm happy, when I'm not, when I'm sad, when I need attention, when I, you know, and I with time, I came to realize, you know what, he's not a mind reader. He doesn't read minds. I have to sort of express myself. I have to verbalize, I have to put it in words so that we can be in a good space in the marriage. Otherwise, I'll always be feeling, you know, shortchanged or you know, almost ignored, or you know, I'm being set aside because he's not paying attention.
We say husbands don't speak Hindi. Hindi is a variation of Hindi. But Africans don't speak. It's really African men.
They don't get him. You have to speak. You have to verbalize. You have to be very blunt.
Okay.
So,
I think what really you're saying is that we don't factor in humanness, that we are human, and that to be human is to be prone to fail one way or another. So we don't factor that both for ourselves and for the other person. And I guess then begins our disappointment based on our expectations and stuff like that. So I think I would largely agree with what Bishop said, that the spark begins to fail when expectations, whether realistic or not, are actually not provided for or met.
That's right. And there are many people. Thanks to many of you that have joined in. Please invite your friends. Lots of comments there from many of you. There's some we're talking about expectations, you know, the way we have been socialized. Josephine is saying expectations also come from how we were socialized. The woman will always cook and give birth to 5 babies, and the man will always come home with meat and newspapers. Some of those expectations, but Bishop, there are many reasons why we deteriorate from a great marriage that was made in heaven, and now we begin to allow a lot of issues to come back in. But maybe we need to focus a lot more on how to spice it up. There are a lot of people that their marriage is not great. They feel like it's become kawaida or normal. The spark is not there. They're not excited. This is what you teach, and this is what you taught last week. What are some tips? You've been there long enough, seen that, done that, witnessed lots of marriages. How can this thing be hot throughout?
Very quickly is that just to say that we are talking to Christians here, and I'm sure most of the people tuning in are Christians, that there could be some non-Christians. But to all of us, we are human beings. And what people are looking for is romance. You find that's repeated again and again, because Christians have been accused that they don't know romance, and that's a tragedy.
What is romance, Bishop? Break it down.
It's already broken. So
break it down.
Up the pieces says.
Uh-huh.
And what I'm saying is this: romance is not getting babies. It's not even sex. That's not romance. Romance is that showing somebody that you love them, you care for them, you are there for them, you value them. And most of these things are verbalized, and then actions you do. And they speak a lot, they speak volumes. And that's why a book like The 5 Love Languages by Ch- is very, very important. That there are times you'll find all that somebody's looking for are words of affirmation. Touch without strings being attached. You know, because when you don't have romance, you'll touch somebody with an end in mind. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. And remember, you can break it down to remembering someone's birthday, remembering Valentine's Day, remembering my wedding anniversary. These are things that sometimes we easily forget.
Yeah.
And therefore, we are told, you know, like, it sounds like a joke, but just serious matter of this African who told his wife, I told you once I love you, when I change my mind, I let you. It's not very helpful, you know. So the Bible is the Bible story is a romantic story. It's God chasing after us after that fall. The first statement is, Adam, where are you? You can see God is missing Adam. He's coming in the cool of the day to look for him. And from then on, the entire Bible until the coming of Jesus Christ. That's why I love that song that David Ewagad and Tim sing about the reckless love of God that chases me down until I am found. And there's no shadow he won't light up. There's no wall he won't break down until he catches up with me. The story of God and man is a story of romance. And so the tragedy is that we've not learned it so that we can do the same to one another. We can chase, we can long for, you can go after, you can do stuff for one another, which without saying, oh, he's doing this to me so that he can take me to bed. That one you can do with a prostitute, you know. You can do with a slave queen. But your wife is not a slave queen. Your husband is not a, you know, for you. So really that's so in a nutshell, the spice of marriage is continued romance. Even now, Christ is still cleansing, washing the church. You know what? By his word that he might present to himself a church without spot, without twinkle. Right. Those are romantic words.
Yes.
Even after he has got the church, he's still doing it.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, what I hear you say is that we need to be intentional. We need to be intentional about just being aware of the needs of this other person, the needs for affirmation. And I would say that maybe for us as ladies, you know, life changes, you know, after you have gotten a few babies that are made out of love, I believe. I mean,
you hope?
Things change. You hope, yes. Things change, man. Things change. There are things we can no longer fit into. And you take a beating because you're wondering, are we still together? Do you still feel me? Am I still valuable to you? So I think just being aware that through life's journey, you know, things are changing, and then being intentional to connect with each other in the changing seasons of life. I think that's what I hear you saying.
That's right. But maybe as we come back to you, Bishop, you're talking about romance. Rose, let me ask Rose. Sometimes we feel as men that you guys demand too much, you know. You want us to buy flowers and we don't even have enough money for house rent or for, you know, transport. But that means a lot to you. And sometimes we think as men, I'm speaking for the men out there so that you may also help us know how to love you in the way that you want to be loved. And there are men that I've had say, you know, you spend $1,000 to buy flowers that are thrown out in a week, and yet you need to pay for Kenya Power. I mean, we understand those things mean a lot to you. So where is the balance, and what do you really want as ladies when it comes to romance?
I think the whole intentional pursuit, continued pursuit, because when a young man is wooing a girl, they work very hard. They put their best foot forward.
They buy flowers and pay Kenya Power.
They walk so that they can save up to take her for a date.
For Lisa.
Yes. You know, they do whatever it takes to impress this girl and to win her. And so for many ladies, they feel after marriage, it's sort of like you go in a default mode where now there's no work, there's no effort. It's just now we have settled. So there's no need for me to impress you. You know me now, you will know who I am. So I don't need to impress you. I don't need to put any effort to continue to woo you. So I think for most ladies, they feel like, you know, it shouldn't even be only on Valentine's and anniversaries and birthdays. You know, we were talking about this with couples in Uganda. So we need to normalize Valentine's. It should not be pressure once a year, that people are under pressure to buy flowers. If you are doing it often, you would not be feeling that pressure for this one day to do it, because it's something that you do often. And so I think that's where ladies are coming from. The other thing I've had ladies in my conversations with women who are married is that, you know, we also do a lot and almost at a place of feeling like this is just unfair, where we are always, when we are being taught in our bridal showers, when we are being prepared for marriage, we are always made to feel like, you know, treat this man as a king, and then we will treat you as a queen. So it's both ways, that work is on both ends. So the balance is that, you know, if it's submission, it's submit to one another. If it's love, it's love one another. So it comes, it's both sides that put the effort, that put the work, and I think that's an assumption that a lot of us we make when we are young in the marriage. We assume that because we love each other, automatically things will just work. We don't realize that there is work involved. There's effort to put and to keep a marriage fire burning and the spark going. There's quite an intentional work and effort that needs to be put.
Wow, very good. I love what you're saying, that it should be both ways. And just quoting a few people here. Pat says flowers can be picked. They don't have to be bought. Huh? They can be picked as well.
On whose farm?
on the road.
But in the Uru Highway is no longer there. There used to be flowers. There's now concrete. Flowers.
Yeah, Kirago Tony saying these are great teachings. Mutindi Kakuti saying Bishop is always real and raw. So appreciating that. Elizabeth Wanjao saying I appreciate the words from Bishop on romance. That's spot on. Bishop, you seem to be encouraging a lot of ladies. You are feeling good about this romance.
Yeah, uongeze maziwa, chai yangu nikikuja kutembea.
That's true.
Oh my goodness. All right. David, do men want to be romanced at all? And Bishop can also tell us, do you need it? It's just for us ladies. Do you care?
I think that a man never outgrows the feeling of affirmation. That is why we play rugby and other life-threatening sports, to just get cheer from the woman.
Mhm.
And why, if the cheer doesn't come from home, the man will likely look for it in his work, will look for it in his sports, he will look for it in other places. Not necessarily looking for a romantic relationship out there, but that's that celebration, that admiration, that people look at you and go like, wow. And that's what romance is to a guy, that she looks up to me and says, you know what, you're the man. Even if you've lost 5 million that morning, she's like, you're the man, you will get 10 million. I mean, that guy will go back out there and do stuff. That is because I think for men, we are connected so much to our work that affirmation in what we do brings out the best in us. Unfortunately, many men feel like what they do is not appreciated. The same way women feel that men don't say what they want to hear, they bring in the bacon. Because for me, when I've hunted and brought in the meat, I feel like, yes, I've done it. I've paid the rent. You know, I remember there's a conversation that was here a while back. I think who were involved in it. And the guys were asking, now rent, kulipa? Yeah, is that a point? The ladies were like, rent does not count. Paying electricity does not count. Paying school fees at the, baby, nimekuja na receipt hapa. We have cleared school fees. That is not part of the romantic. But for us, because we are coming from a work, reward, and results mindset, that is where we feel the cheer. That is why we feel buying flowers is not as great as basically bringing in the meat. And we feel like when we bring in the meat, we have done much more than the flowers. But you see, not us receiving the flower. And so the one who receives it is the one who qualifies it. And so there's a struggle between what I think tickles you and what actually tickles you, the 5 languages of love that Bishop you've mentioned. Yeah. And so we still want to be, we want to be romanced in the sense of celebrated. That is, I think, what romance is to a guy.
Yeah. Okay. And I think just to get personal, there are some things that Sophie has done over the years that have really encouraged me. Like me traveling and coming back and finding the entire house, written all over, welcome back, the king of the castle. And, finding the children prepared to receive me right from the gate. To sit me down, to get a massage, some things that are done and you feel, wow, that's romantic. Now, talking about romance, I think a man wants to feel celebrated, respected, affirmed. He wants to feel that, yes, I think the ladies you're saying, the flowers, the chocolates, the special dinner, all of those things make you feel special. But for us, also those things make us feel special. And JB, you have taught marriage for years. Have you had challenges yourself in marriage? And have you had times that you had to reignite the spark? And besides romance, what are some of the other things you were able to do as well to get back your marriage to a good place?
Anybody who tells you they have not had challenges in marriage, they'll be lying.
He's not married.
No, they are not married. Those are not married. They are just doing another thing. Yeah. Because marriage in itself, by nature, it's potential hotbed of conflict. Just by its nature. Here, okay, Simon and Sophie, you could say you come from the same ethnic background. But if we start splitting it, you'll say you're from Akwen, you're from Machakos.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
That's
already there are issues there. Let's talk. Me and David, we are in a cross-cultural marriage. There are already issues there. And then the fact that we are discussing about a marriage between a man and a woman, not between two men, not between two women. In fact, the tension that is there in a marriage between a man and a woman makes me wonder how a man wants to marry another man. Just knowing the tension that is there in between a man and a woman, you know. So already those differences from our nature, our nurture, and stuff like that already brings in a hotbed for conflict, for differences, for fights. So if all of us have gone through these tensions when there's poor communication and you misunderstand one another, even when I teach on the book of Songs of Solomon, you'll find that it comes a chapter when this lady is in their house and she says, I can hear my beloved is coming, his hand is at the door, he's trying to turn the latch. And by the time I got there, he's left. He's run away. Why? Because he was disappointed. He was here. There are disappointments in any romantic relationship. Let's be real.
That's true.
So those disappointments will always be there. We'll hurt one another. We'll fail to do some stuff. There are some expectations you'll find. Even those of us who are talking on this set, you may find there are some things my wife expected and I never came up to. And she has just had to pray for grace. And that's why I tell people, you know what? The reason we have lived with one another for this long is because we have learned to forgive one another. We've learned to apologize, give forgiveness, receive forgiveness. If you don't do that, it won't work. Number two, someone said, as a man, I've learned to have how to have the last word in my house. And that last word is yes, dear. If you come a unakubali aisha, you have the last word. But the last word is yes, dear. You know, because there are some situations that's what kubali matokeo. Even if I'm going to argue, I have a marriage to save here. I have a relationship to save here. It's more important than any other thing. So those things will be there. Now, you spice it up by learning what an important thing of those ones I've said. You have learned to give and receive forgiveness.
Yes.
Someone said the closer you get to somebody, the more you know about them. And the more you know about somebody, the more you need to forgive them. Remember, we are coming from Machakos and Makueni. We don't know one another until we start living with one another. That's when you discover how this man chews, how he swallows, what he does with his tea, how he talks with food in his mouth. And these are things that you grew up saying. And someone grew up from a place where I want to tell you, and yeah, you are dying. You're saying, no, stop talking food in your mouth. But someone grew up, mtu alikulia mtaani, unajua wengine tukulia mtaa. Kwa mtaa hiyo vitu haikuwa na shida. Wewe unakula mahindi yako ukipiga mastori. Kwa maana unakaa na watu wengine ni mairungi, ni gomba wameweka. Aje nikueleze jo. So it was no big deal, but to someone it's a big deal. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. That's why I tell people, when I met my wife, I love taking uji in Bama. I grew up around Eastland. So ile uji ya Bama, Devi, Yanjele. You want to pull the top because it's cooler. That surface is cooler. And I used to like pulling, and my wife just couldn't stand that. And she gave me a look and realized, Uji. I thought you're actually nice.
You'll drink your marriage away.
Yeah, you'll take it. There are things you'll have to leave. There are things, and then kuda zingine, you discover there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes.
You just pray for more grace.
Yeah.
You know, for example, I'm a snorer. I didn't know because I lived alone until I married my wife. Told me, do you know you snore? I said, what? You know, and I denied it. You know, she told me I'm going to record you. I didn't play the cassette za zamani. You got a microphone, can you speak? And then you reach a place, you realize, it's true. Now, what do you do about it? Grace. So there are some things you'll change, but that's why you learn to forgive one another again. And I tell people, my marriage is still working because my wife forgives me. And it's still working because I've learned to forgive her. And Because unless you come from that place, there'll be no spice coming in.
Yes.
The opening door is forgiveness and forgiveness and forgiveness.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I love it. I think what you're saying, Bishop, is very powerful. And there are people here that will pray for maybe at the end. We're going through very tough times and have hurt each other. And they're listening about us reviving this. And it's very hard for them because they have not let go. They have not forgiven. And I love what you're saying. Let me ask a question, Rose, as we continue to give tips. So we're talking about communication, conflict resolution through forgiveness. We're talking about romance and caring deeply for the other person. What other tip would you say? Something that has worked in your marriage that you would say, this has really helped me be able to come to a good place. A tip that has worked in your marriage.
I think one of the things that we have, as obvious as it seems, it looks, is that there's a lot of humor in this marriage. That has really helped. I think I've discovered what humor can do in easing a lot of tension when things are intense, and we can laugh about it. We can laugh about ourselves. We can laugh about our issues. Yeah. That has helped, because one of the things laughter does, as they say, laughter is medicine. Laughter has brought a lot of intense situations and made them less intense so that we can be able to have conversation about it. And that comes from a place of friendship. I believe that building on your friendship as husband and wife, it's one thing to be husband and wife, to be pronounced in church and to have certificates and to have paper. But it's another thing to be friends.
And even to get children.
Yes, and to be Baba so and so and Mama so and so, as you can, and you can be Baba so and Mama so and so in a house living together, and yet you're not friends. So one of the greatest gifts I have come to enjoy in our marriage has been our friendship. That I know at the end of the day, we are good friends. Whether things are intense, whether things are bad, whether things are not working, whether we are not seeing things the same way, whether we are not, agreeing on something, we are good friends. And as it is, when you have a good friend, you always give a lot of grace to your friend. You always extend a lot of grace to a friend. You know their weaknesses, you know their strength, and yet you are willing to pursue that relationship and to keep it going, and to service it with whatever it needs, whether it's communication, whether it's providing their emotional needs. It's because this person is your friend. And I think building on your friendship is so critical, because it eases it pulls down a lot of the barriers that we put up when we look at each other just as husband and wife, or parents, who are raising children, or, roommates or workmates or whatever. Friendship has played a big role in our marriage.
I like that. And as Sophie comes in, just to add some things and talk with David as well. I just want to say to all of you, thank you. Many of you that have joined us in our pages. This seems to be a great desire for many. Viola is talking about ego. Wanting to have the last word is a real relationship killer, as long as the last word is not as good as Bishop said, if it's not a word of surrender and a word of giving up the fight. But so many good comments from different people. We appreciate the conversation. Just to say to many of you that we have programs that transform nations. We have one that is very good for the men and women to deal with yourself, to make yourself a better person so that you may experience love. We have Man Enough. Another class is starting in 2 weeks. Man Enough is going to be on Thursdays online. There are some already going on. Then we have Ezra that starts this Sunday, this Thursday. The coming Thursday in the evening, we start Ezra. Ezra is a women's program, helps a lot in bringing healing transformation, making you the kind of a woman that would be a blessing to others, but also will be easy to live with. So there are those programs. The details are on our page. Go ahead and look at that and sign up. We have Intentional Dad, Intentional Mom, but especially those two, Man Enough and Ezra, we are beginning this week and the following week, and you're welcome to be able to sign up.
All right, thank you. I think I like to listen reflectively, and one of the things maybe I would add as a tip, I read once a book by Gary Thomas, and it's titled Sacred Marriage, and he says that one of the things that we must never stop doing to keep the spark alive is never to get to that point where we are not living in awe of this person. And that means not taking this person for granted, and understanding that even when we're going through a difficult patch, because we are human and because life happens, to understand that there are thousands of people out there who envy this situation and who wish they could have what I have. And so never to stop to lose the wonder of the fact that God has given this person to me, and to appreciate them. And they say that what you appreciate increases in value. What you do not appreciate decreases in value, and there comes contempt, there comes disrespect, and very soon you start looking for greener pastures. And they always say that where the grass is greener, the water bill is also higher, because
there's investment there.
The water bill, the electricity bill, it's also higher there because someone is working. So I would say that then in a nutshell, that marriage doesn't work. You have to work it, really. You have to work it, you have to invest, you have to accept that, and also when it comes to forgiveness, also realizing that there are things that, there are ways in which I may hurt my husband and my husband may hurt me, for which there will never be enough atonement. So I have to accept that Jesus has provided for that atonement and allow myself to draw from that grace, so that then I can continue to live with this person. I think that is sort of just reflecting back on what I have had being said.
Yeah, Bishop, we're about to come to you, but let's hear from David one other tip. I think I appreciate what Sophie says, because she got to learn, Bishop, that I love pancakes. Bread is not, bread came later, several months later. It's not very romantic to me. But just to appreciate that even now, I think yesterday or the day before, I still, had pancakes. And I love the way she goes into lines to make sure that happens. At times I have to leave very early. I don't know how to make pancakes. I've tried before, it didn't end up well. So there are times I have to leave early and she'll still wake up. And, that sacrifice as a way of really touching my heart, that she will go ahead and know that my husband loves this. I want to make it special for him, and I just want to appreciate. Those are the kind of things that make you want to continue to love this lady, for the sacrifice, for the care, for the concern that you see. David, as we come back to Bishop for a few more tips.
Yeah, I'll offer to teach you how to make pancakes. So that's my specialty at home. So please feel free to contact me. The phone number is down there on the screen.
The way Rose is looking down, I don't think so.
You make good pancakes.
You are not taking the offer.
Well, I think what I would say is the nature of a man is to be a hunter. The nature of a woman is to be a nurturer. And herein lies the conflict. Men behave with relationships like we behave with hunting. You go out there, you know when to talk, when to keep quiet, how to find the route into this woman's heart. But once you get the trophy, you hang it up there like those trophies I have. I never do anything with those trophies. unless they get dusty. The only time they maybe will come and clean them up and remove the dust. And the woman, on the other hand, yes, as she's hunted, she's enjoying the attention and all that. And so we have a high intensity of communication, of expression, of affection, of all those right things when we are hunting in that sense. But once we have the game, once we have won the trophy, we put the woman there and we go back to hunt for more. Now we are looking for the next house, we are looking for a car, we are looking for, and we forget that this person is not on autopilot. She's not on self-sustenance. And so we need to keep nurturing the relationship as well and move from the hunter instinct to the nurture instinct, where you say, you know what, let me keep building this woman. Ephesians 5:22, going forward, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and offered himself as a ransom for her. And, you know, not just that, but cleansing her and presenting her. You know, there's a whole sense of cleansing and preparing and purifying with his own life. And that is a part that many men will forget. We think, once I have her, I can go ahead and do other things. No, all I do is just bring the other trophies. You know, I married you, now here is a house for you now. Here we have children, now we have. It is all these other things are beside her. We need to be able to focus on nurturing her as well. And it's not a natural instinct for men because we are more on the hunt. And so we need to be able to shift our hunting of finding her to shift our hunting of finding her affection and keeping that spark burning. And we're talking about keeping the spark burning. And unfortunately, sex, big as and precious as it is a small component of the entire spark. I know for men that we think end game, but then there is a whole world around sex, especially in the woman's perception, that we need to be able to understand. That is why she will tell you, go close the door. You close the door. How many times do I have to just tell me, did you close the door? And I'm like, I did. And she's like, just go and check, because there's safety in that allows her to be able to say, okay, now we are okay. The thing she knows is that I don't go outside to check if there's a big bang outside, because that is why we bought doors, so that we can stay inside and the bang can happen outside. Otherwise, if we were strong enough to go out, we would not have doors. So with that knight in shining armor has not worked very well. But basically, maintain the excitement of just pursuing this person. It doesn't matter whether you've been married 10 years or 20 or 40, the pursuit still remains. And unfortunately, if you don't pursue, if you don't invest in her in that way, then you begin to see other things. As Sophie was saying, you know, you start seeing grass being green on the other side, but it's because you've not irrigated your own. So invest.
I like it. And Bishop, we want to give you a chance as we come towards some conclusions. You know, I've written a few things that have come up, you know, adoration, that we need to adore each other. And I know there are some people who are asking about these programs, and there are a few people from Transform Nations who are there, and they have the sign up links that you can sign up for EZER, E-Z-E-R, EZER, which means strong and supportive for a lady. So that's the one for ladies, and we have Man Enough as well, and the links are available, and you will be able to sign up. You will see the details on the page. But we're talking about adoration, adoring one another. We're talking about bearing each other's burdens and understanding one another. We're talking about communication. We're talking about dealing with issues, D for dealing with issues, and making sure that conflicts are resolved. We're looking at experiences, creating the kind of experiences that will continue. You know, I was just realizing that my wife and I have not had a really exciting experience for a few months, and I think COVID gave us an excuse. So I'm thinking of one very soon. Just know it's very soon, before Jesus comes. But we're going to do it very soon. But Bishop, you're old enough. You're old enough, Bishop, to be able to speak to us. You have watched men make some mistakes. You have watched women make some mistakes. What are some of the things you would tell us, as a father? Because there are some things we may not be able to say, but you as a father, you have seen these things happen, and we just want you to speak to us and tell us.
There are three things that Christ mentions in Matthew chapter 7 that I just mentioned in passing. And they go like this. Every house will face rain.
Yeah.
Every house will face floods. Every house will face winds. Rain beats it from above, Jesus says. Rain speaks of abundance. Rain speaks of increase. Rain speaks of divine blessings. And the question every one of us should be asking, the kind of marriage I am building, can it survive an increase in finances? An increase in material blessings? Suppose you may be so close because you don't have a car. So what will happen to your marriage when a car comes? What will happen with 2 cars? What will happen to your marriage if you have a bigger house? Can your marriage handle a bigger house? These are questions, because rain speaks of increase. When rain comes, the plants are going to grow. Animals will become big. It talks of a harvest. So Jesus is saying, in every house, God may release a harvest, blessings, increase, abundance. And I've known marriages that cannot survive. They did very well when they had nothing. When the man got a promotion, I got. Or when the woman is the only one who was the bread earner, things unraveled. And these are things, that's why the writer of Songs of Solomon in chapter 2, verse 15, says, just catch us the little foxes. Those are the things that kill the sparks. Because right now, our vines are in bloom, but there are some little foxes, like, he just got a promotion. He's just got an office with his name. He's been sitting in a veranda, but he was just given an office now with his name tag. And his marriage is going. He used to pick his tea from the tea and in the corridor, but now they are bringing tea in a tray with some cookies. Yeah. He just messed up with him. Can your marriage survive? They are simple, but can you? What about floods? Because the things that kill some of these sparks, you'll discover, are things just like that. Or floods, things that rise up from within. An infirmity. Like this corona period, people lost jobs. This is it. So do you find suddenly the finances are not coming in? Your husband lost his job. Your wife has lost her job. Your business is gone down. You have to downsize, Simon. I know people had to move from Buruburu to come to Umoja, from Umoja to Kayole, from Kayole to go to a single room. Others took their families to the village in order to come and stay, just three or four of them sharing a house, so that they can hustle. I have no political connotations here. I'm saying, become poker. You hear me? Yeah. Can your marriage survive situation like this corona period? I'm a pastor, and even I did pastor's soul care, and some of the questions and comments I saw there are very, very powerful. Women are asking, what shall I do with this man? Because I'm not used to having this man in my house all the time. But now he's here. He's putting his dirty feet on my table. And the children are now learning those bad habits. This is a question I saw on my screen. What do I do with this man? I'm not used to having him in the house. It was vernacular in Kikuyu. It's only husband Kimodoge. When you start calling your husband Kimodoge, you're really disgusting.
It's not fun.
So I'm trying to say this. There are things that just come to damage that sparkle. Like suddenly there's a lack. there's a sickness, there's someone has been diagnosed with this disease that's going to consume your finances. And I know during the pastor's soul care, I could see women were saying, he's just walked out on us with the children when he discovered I'm diabetic. Or the husband saying, when I lost my job, my wife has left me 3 children. She's just taken off. She's going to live with her sister. These are things that are, and these are real things, as Simon and David, Rose and Sophie, that are really eating marriages right now, because that patience is not there. That realizing this thing is going to be shaken one way or another. Talking about floods that just come from within. What do you do when one of your children just becomes rebellious? Your teenage daughter tells you know what I'm expecting. Answers the mother rudely. I'm not listening to you, mommy. I'm not listening to you, daddy. Now, and you've seen some of this thing on TikTok. Toto akisomea mama yake tena vibaya sana na anajirekodi. Na ataweka kwa mtandao. Nimemsomea. What do you do? These are floods that come from within. It's in your own house. Things have just changed. Things are just happening. Or when you're aging, like we are aging, men and wife. All our children are now married and gone. We have been left alone. Sasa umebaki hapo nyinyi wawili, leo nisugue hapa. Hapana, hiyo imetoka hapa sasa imekuja hapa kwa target here now. Kaluma ziko nyingi, kuna Kaluma Himalayan, ingine kwa inaitwa weka waka. So you got to know the names of all these things. Leo nisugue tu miguu huko tu chini. Baada ya massage unapaga wewe Simon ya kutoka safari. Hii ni massage ya huko eli, serious. Wana bila hiyo massage utalala. So there are all these things. What about winds from outside? They are talking about attacks to your marriage that come from outside your home. Negative words spoken by people, especially significant others. You hear your mother-in-law talking about you. She's talking about your wife. Your father is talking to you about your husband. You know, stuff like that. Temptations that come in. Bosses that are flirting with you. The house girls that are flirting with you. These are real issues that people are dealing with. And if you're not careful, these things will affect our marriages and kill the spark in there. So what you're saying is important, that you need to come to a place whereby, you know what? I love this man. I love this woman. We are ready to forgive. We are ready to work with one another. We are ready to be patient with one another. Na pale nashindwa, neema ya Mungu ikaingie na ikasaidie na ikatoshe. May the grace of God come in and be sufficient, because there are some things we'll do to one another that even our own forgiveness is not enough. Because trust, someone said, is like a Chinese vase. If it is broken, it may be mended, but the crack will always remain. Only the grace of God can hold that all together. Therefore, the spark can be there. The spark ought to be there. We've got, like Sophie said, and Rose, we've got to work at it. Especially my dear brothers, let us work at this thing. Let us give it. I like what the things I hear David and you sharing. Let us work at this thing. It can work. I'm in a cross-cultural marriage for 45 years. Our children are all married and gone. 11 grandchildren. We live alone in this house with my wife and my friend. We are friends. Like Sophie said, it was Rose who said, we are buddies. I introduced my wife as my girlfriend. She introduces me as my boyfriend. That friendship, imetusaidia. So we don't live in this house as husband and husband. We live as friends. Na monyanya, leko nyanyala. Kuna nyanyana.
All right, very important.
Let him was an ear hear what the Spirit. I just said.
Yes. I'll take you back to where you started, Bishop, where you said that the number one killer of the spark is expectations.
Unmet expectations.
Unmet expectations.
Yes.
And as you were talking, I was thinking about the traditional marriage vow, where you say I take you so and so to be my lowly wedded husband or wife,
Wedded wife.
for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, for richer and for poorer. And I'm seeing a lot of people modifying those things because they don't think they are smart anymore. They are not. The vibe is kind of old,
Spoiler.
And yet I feel that if you're really to think about the vows that you take, that traditional vow, and I'm not against people writing their own marriage vows, but you're actually saying, I'm entering into marriage and I have no guarantee what will come at me. And you are saying, I'm committing myself that I will remain true to you and to this commitment I'm making here, no matter what life throws at us.
Yes.
And I think if we really take that commitment to heart, then the whole thing of you've given birth to a child and this child is a special needs child and they're taking a lot of resources from you, emotional, physical, financial, and many marriages, fail to survive because of that. So
the special needs child is a very challenging situation. Right.
It's a very challenging situation.
Yes.
And people, it will either make or break a marriage.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, therefore, could it be that so one of the reasons why the spark goes out very quickly is that we have not really come to we have not grappled with the kind of journey that we are actually committing ourselves into. I think that is the root of unmet expectations. But really saying that
Rose mentioned that very well. Mentioned that very well. I know you said you are in Uganda, David and Rose, and in Uganda I've got dear friends like the Wafulas and the writers Undo, and there's a statement I learned with my friends from Uganda. When they were telling young people who are getting married, welcome to a university from which you will never graduate. That's why you are given the degree on the first day. As soon as you are married, you are given your certificate. You have graduated. In other words, from now on, start learning. You're actually getting into a school from which you will never ever graduate, and be ready to keep on learning new stuff, new things. I'm hoping that even the conversation we are having here is helping people to learn. These guys, either their power is gone.
Kuna vile wametoka, lakini tutakafunga tu.
The power is gone. There's been black that area.
I think they'll be. Yes, what he's saying is very real because I think.
Welcome back, Simon. We missed you. Yeah, David, you are saying something.
Could it be that probably also what we have taught over the years and how we have expressed marriage to people has made people feel like it's meant to work on its own. It's meant to be easy. And so when it becomes just a little difficult, people are feeling want out. That is why we are changing our vows to say for richer, for better, in health and in health. Because we don't want to know that we will ever get into rough waters, that the floods will come, that the winds will blow. Even the rain comes to bring abundance. And love the way you've just broken down that scripture. I've never looked at it from those different perspectives. I've always just known all of them came to bring trouble. But definitely, marriages have fallen apart because of success, not because of failure, because of success. That promotion,
very many
that blew up and everything. And so my prayer is that, and for many couples who are here and going through those rough patches, and you know it's because of success, you know it's because of good things that came and shortchanged the intimacy. One of our lecturers used to say, when the bed is so big that you don't have to be in good terms, you will not even feed each other. You move from that banco bed that you used to bring you together because the spring brings you to the center. So you have to be in agreement between that bed.
By force and by fire.
By fire. And so my prayer is that we can be able to just tell guys, listen, Marriage is like any other thing you do. You can never say, I will not service my car. Or you can never say, I will not go to work because I don't feel like. You put in effort. By the time you're getting that promotion, it's because you've earned it. The same way, by the time you're saying my marriage is great, when Bishop is telling us 45 years, happy, calling each other girlfriend and boyfriend, it's not because they just sat in a corner somewhere and the Spirit of the Lord was just downloading blessings and laughter and joy. They worked on it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
One of
Thank
the
you,
things
David. Yes, Rose.
encourage couples is that when you come into marriage, you don't come in as experts, really. I look back at us 20 years ago, and really we didn't know much, although we felt like we knew a lot. When you come in with a thinking cup, you are a learning cup. You want to learn. You want to grow. You want to learn this person even more. You want to grow in your relationship even more. I think it's a better place. And I know this generation struggles with that. We have a generation that feel like you need to be perfect. You need to be together. You need to have it all together to be able to get into marriage. That's why they're delaying. I want to have my master's. I want to have my PhD before I get married. I want to have a good job. I want to be stable. I want to be stable financially to qualify, and we realize that we are getting into marriage thinking need to be an expert, even in the bedroom, matters sex, matters intimacy. We feel like we need to be
even
expert.
matters of raising children.
Yes, and yet it's a room, it's a journey of learning and growing.
Yes.
You learn how to love each other, the real love. You learn how to live with each other. You don't live with each other. You live with your parents. You live with your brothers and sisters. You never live with this person. And so there's a transition that you're making. You will learn how to parent children, something you've never done before. So you don't enter into that space thinking, I know. You are learning as you go along. The first kids are your guinea pigs. They are learning from your mistakes. They're learning, and you're figuring it out as you go along. So
your firstborn is always the guinea pig.
Yeah, so to leave that pressure from us to be perfect in it, but to learn and to grow in it.
Wow, I enjoy this conversation. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I think we need to do this again. There's so much, so we'll take what Rose and David have said to be their last words. But Bishop, because of your experience, because David and Rose, we're going to be together again in a week or two, right here.
What are you up to? You
waiting for that retreat together. That's a price we're going together.
I'll be praying for
Bishop,
you. Focus prayer.
Yeah, but Bishop, would love for you just to pray for us. I mean, there are marriages that are struggling, that they would pay anything to get a spark back, and it's not easy. And we have work to do, but there are some that are stuck in a place of hurt and brokenness, and we just need God's help sometimes to be able to get unstuck. But we have said a few things which I really appreciate, adoration and appreciation of one another. I think just building that every day, writing small notes, celebrating each other, all of those things, bearing each other's burdens. So really being caring for one another. As you were saying, your wife helping you with where the pain is right now. In your old age, you're still there to bear each other's burdens. And that's how the spark comes back, because you feel the other person cares. Communication, writing some lines, I think lines never end, David. We still need to have lines for each other and celebrate one another, communicate well, deal with conflicts there, deal with the issues, but also create experiences, lovely experiences. Get out often, go for dinner, have a date night, do all of these things that will create the atmosphere for, the spark. But Bishop, maybe a last word and maybe a prayer for us, and or blessing the marriages, but also for those who are struggling, praying that they will come to a good place.
Thank you very much, David and Rose. Great to see you again. Really
An honor.
value guys, praying for the work you're doing at Papa's and the Youth Hub. I will always look forward to your comment. It's just that I'm not active on social media, but I read everything you put out there. I don't go to put it out knowing I'm reading it. Okay? So, I really appreciate you, Simon and Sophie, for what you are. Both of you are a gift to the body of Christ in your generation. It's when we interact with people like you that we know this ministry as a future and as a hope. Because as some of us, we are not in our twilight years yet, but we were just slightly born before. But as years keep on moving, it's good to know there are people of integrity in every generation who will serve the purposes of God in their generation. The institution of marriage is very close to the heart of God, that he compares the relationship between Christ and his church to that of a husband and a wife. That's very, very important. The first relationship for God to establish was between a man and a woman in the relationship of marriage. So this is something very, an institution very, very close to the heart of God. And because of that, that's why I have that program called Marriage Pride. I am proud to be married, and we want to celebrate marriage. And marriages will work. Don't let someone tell you it doesn't work. No, marriage will work if you work at it at any age. Don't be fooled that, oh, you know what, I'll get a spark, or if I get another woman. The Book of Ecclesiastes is a very interesting book where Solomon says, me, I tried everything, including madness. I had foolishness. I've tried foolishness, I've tried madness, I've tried wisdom. I've married as many women as I wanted. And he said, at the end of the day, all is vanity, that vanity. You know, you look at it and you just despaired of life almost. But nevertheless, if we do marriage the way God intended it, marriage will work, but we have to work at it. Let's go back to the manual. Let's go back to what God says. Don't buy a car where the manual says put in super petrol, and because you think it's very expensive, you put in diesel because it's cheap. That engine will knock. So don't try to experiment with marriage. Just follow what the Bible says, and it will work. God bless you. Father, we thank you again for tonight, for the time we've spent with Simon and Sophie, David and Rose, but above all, the hundreds upon hundreds of people watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and we shall watch this channel again, even after this program is over. Some of them are going through horrendous times because of this pandemic, because of the loss of income, because of loss of a job, because of sickness, because of disease. Some of them, they are going through a horrendous time because of the challenge of just being put in one house at the same time for long hours, something they are not used to. Father, we are praying. Intervene in your own way in every situation. There are some who are living in a marriage without children. They pray for children. They long to have children. She longs to be a mother. He longs to be a father. Answer their prayer tonight. That in the next 9 months and 15 minutes, there'll be a father, there'll be a mother. That's what we are praying. And Lord, we are praying for those who are facing challenges on medical grounds, a special needs child, lack of finances, whatever challenge may be. Father, we pray in your own way, intervene tonight. But bless every union, bless every couple, bless every family in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Bishop. As always, you are such a blessing. We are so glad that you are here, and thank you for so many of you, hundreds of you that have been watching tonight. You can reach us at Transform Nations. You can reach the Davids, Ewagatas, and Rose YHub Network, and in the Church Purpose Center. And you can, of course, reach Bishop and get to know a lot that he does. Marriage Pride. I've been there. I've been blessed. It's always a blessing to listen to you.
And BC Talk, that Facebook, like it, you'll find me there.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. We appreciate, and you've written books. You have the Marriage Pride book as well.
They're all out of print. We've got to work on them again. We want to put them in a snippet where people can survive reading. Kenyans cannot stand big books.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everyone. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless our marriages, and may we make it work. Let's swallow our pride. Someone has said it's non-fattening. Let's swallow our pride and work on our marriages, and realize that we only get what we work for. Whatever we put in, we're going to get it back. So God bless you. Let's do what we can. Let's love one another. And just want to appreciate my wife, Sophia. She has been a wonderful woman, and celebrate her today.
And I appreciate you. You've been an amazing guy. My boyfriend.
Wow. You talked about the romance here, JB. So,
the spark is right there. The spark is right there. Catch the
well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night, and thank you, David and Rose. God bless you. Bishop, please say hi to Mama. We missed her, but you represented her completely.
God bless you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you on Sunday, same place. We are going to